We're talking roster bubble here, and I got 5 players who I think is at the bottom of the roster bubble. They need to make some moves this year in training camp and in the preseason to make the 53-man roster because this roster is really good. So it's going to be difficult to make it, and some good players are simply not going to make the team. So in this video, I'm going to give you my top 5 players who I think are in the roster bubble and what they need to do to make the roster. Let's go. If you like Lions gear, go to lionsnationnight.com for that gear. lionsnationnight.com. You get epic shirts, pants, whatever. They got it all there. So if you like Lions stuff, go on and get it. lionsnationunite.com. So roster bubble players. The first player here I got on my list is Mr. John Cominsky. Now, last year, he played worse than what he had in a while. He went backwards. And this year, he needs to take a step forward because the Lions got more bodies on this defensive line. You got folks like Mitchell Agood, who is looking to make this team, and you got someone like a John Cominsky, who's a veteran who first year was good, second year not so much. And he's got to improve. If he doesn't improve, he's not going to make this team. This roster is hard. I think John Cominsky makes the roster. I think he does good this year. I think he does put in the work, and he improves his game. I do, because last year he definitely faltered. And I think when we're hearing about Terrell Williams, the defensive line coach, and I talked about him a lot, I think that there could have been a problem with coaching last year and why some of these players didn't do any sort of better than what you expected. And I think that having him now, it's going to set up these players on the defensive line just a little bit better. I truly do. And I think John Cominsky is going to improve. He's going to snap back into it and be a asset to this football team going forward. But he's got to put the work in training camp. He's got to do all the offseason stuff, because just because he made it last year and the year before does not mean you're going to make it this year. Number 4 player on my list who's on a roster bubble here is Mr. Craig Reynolds. You all know I love me some Craig Reynolds. Craig Reynolds, our number 3 running back. Now, I do have him making the roster. I do, but it's a chance that he does not. Why? Cyan Vaki is looking pretty good, the Lions rookie. Now, he is an individual that could be out of the backfield and pass, so that's not generally Craig Reynolds' job. Craig Reynolds, when I look at Craig Reynolds, is more of an all-around back. He could do it all out of the backfield, but he's not just great at one thing. He's good at many different things, and that's what makes him hard to remove from the roster, because he is good at many different aspects of the game. Special teams, running back, he can do it out of the backfield. He's always reliable. He's got a good burst. He gains yards. He's a good player. So I think he does make the roster, but he absolutely is on the roster bubble just because this roster is so darn good. And I think he ends up being the number 3 running back. Him and Cyan Vaki will bat it out. And all honesty, even if you do 3 or 4, does it really matter? Because I think Craig Reynolds is more the backup to Montgomery, is Jameer Gibbs, or Cyan Vaki is probably more by the backup of Jameer Gibbs because of how they play. But again, if he's number 4, number 3, I do think he makes the team. Again, with that said, though, he may not. That's why I got him in the roster bubble. I do. It's going to be close. It's going to be real close. I mean, year 1 when he was here, he almost didn't make the team. They were talking about that in Hard Knocks. This is year 3. This roster's really good. So it could be a little bit different in 2024. I still think he makes the team. I still do. I like Craig Reynolds. He's a solid back. You can rely on him. And he's a good guy to have in the locker room. Really like what he brings this team. Next player on my list, we haven't talked about a lot, but he should be on the roster bubble. How about Emmanuel Moseley? I love Emmanuel Moseley. I liked him when we signed him last year. I think he does have a lot of promise. The problem with Moseley is not his ability. It's not what he does on the field. It has nothing to do with that. There's 2 things that's a problem with Mr. Emmanuel Moseley. First off, the DB room is excellent compared to what it was last year. It's extremely improved, right? You got Carlton Davis, you got Terrion Arnold. These guys are a significant upgrade from what they had last year. Sheesh. Vildor is number 6 cornerback on this team right now. And I think that Emmanuel Moseley is probably better all around than Vildor. But there's one thing that all these other corners got, Vildor. the ability to stay healthy. Emmanuel Moseley has not shown that. So he's on the roster bubble. I think that in this year, as much as some of these guys we like, you got to be healthy. This roster is too good to have someone that's always injured on there. Now, I think he's going to be ready for training camp. I think he's healed, right? But that is a but. He's got to prove it. He didn't stay healthy in San Francisco. He didn't stay healthy last year. And it's a new year. Can he stay healthy in 2024? I hope he can. Because if he can't, if he stays healthy, the Lions DB room is even that much better because I think he has a lot of talent. You just got to be on the field. It doesn't matter how much talent you have to be on the field. Let me know in the comment section right now. Do you have Emmanuel Moseley making the 53-man roster? Right now, I do. But if there's injuries, like we've seen, you may not. Next player on my list who's on the roster bubble is Mr. Levi Onwuzurike. I got to keep it 100 here, though. I do think he is definitely going in the right direction. 110%. And I think you're seeing what he's been talking about, this offseason, about how he's feeling better, how he's improved physically, even as the body-wise, in the room, all of that. He mentally, he's focused. He's physically feeling great. That is the biggest thing for Levi. And I think there's two things that's going for him, why he's going in the right direction, even though he's still in the roster bubble, because he is still in the roster bubble. Two things going for him. First off, I do believe that he's feeling better. I 100% believe it. You're seeing a physical change for him on the field. He's physically looking better than what he has. Like, he's doing like the Broderick Martin, the Lee McNeil type of thing right now. All these defensive tackles apparently want to get gigantic, and which is great. It's, can Levi stay healthy? It's, again, all health. Now, like we talked about, when I was Levi Onwuzurike year 1, we didn't see anything. Year 2, he had the fusion. I said, this guy is definitely, he's going in the wrong direction. He's probably not going to make the team. The dude makes the team, okay? He makes the team, and he produces. This is year 4. Now, it needs to all come together before we're going down to the 53. It does. He's got to show it. He's got to stay consistent on the practice field. He's got to continue to grow as an athlete physically and mentally. He's got to beat out some of these other guys. Broderick Martin, who we drafted last year. Mekhi Wingo, we drafted this year. There's a lot of talent in that defensive tackle room. Someone's going to get cut. Someone is going to get cut. And Levi potentially could be one of those individuals. So he's just got to work his tail off. If he does that, he probably makes the team, but he's got to do it. Number 1 player who we've talked about sometimes, but he's been making the team like very end. I think this is the last year he's a Detroit Lion. And I'm talking about this offseason. I think he does get cut. And maybe he does the practice squad. That's the possibility. But 53, I don't see him making the 53. And potentially, like I said, he could be his last year in Detroit just all around. Why? I think Jermar Jefferson, whom we drafted in Brad Holmes' first draft, it's a playing time, so it's a promise. But the last couple of years, not much. And he's been on the practice squad. He's not doing anything. There's no way he's going to be out Sion Vaki, okay? He's not going to bring out Montgomery. He's not going to bring out Gibbs. The only person there is Craig Reynolds. Craig Reynolds has proven it more than Jermar Jefferson. Jermar Jefferson's a low on the depth chart. I like Jermar Jefferson, I do, but at some point, this is, he's got to look at his career. Can he actually make a team's 53-man roster? Because you can live on the practice squad here, but does he really want to do that for the rest of his career? He's got to know, when you look at the depth of this team, that he's not in the future plans of being anywhere starting. Now, he could practice squad and, sit on it this year, and Montgomery leaves. Maybe he can attempt to make the roster in 2025. I just don't see it. I think we're near the end of the road with Jermar, and it's not a bad thing. We're talking about a 7th-round pick in the first year of Brad Holmes' regime. That means he did a hell of a good job in the draft when you still have players on there. Let me know in the comment section, do you want Jermar Jefferson to make this roster. Why for yes and for no? Blow up the comment section. Again, we look at all these players. There's other players you can put in the roster bubble. Absolutely can. Mitchell Argud, we talked about him, the pass rusher. I think he's a roster bubble candidate, obviously. James Mitchell, he is 110% a roster bubble, and I don't think he makes the roster. I'm just telling you, I don't think he does. I think James Mitchell's done, at least for the 53. Now, he could make the practice squad, or a team could pick him up. But he's an individual I think is on a roster bubble. I think even Sorsdale potentially could be. I think he makes the team, but he's got to improve, right? He didn't do a whole lot. He makes the team. He's going to make the team. He can play tackle and guard. He just needs a lot of developing. He needs a ton of developing. But, again, right there. You can look at, I think Malcolm Rodriguez, he's always going to be on the roster. He's at the very end, but he's going to make the team. He's going to make the team because he is, him and Jalen Reeves-Maybin are rounding up the linebacker room, and they're both good. Malcolm Rodriguez can play offense, defense, special teams, and that's why he's going to make the roster, is he is multiple positions. How about a name that I think is really interesting here, because you look at some of these players that the Detroit Lions have in this team and some of the contributors of last offseason, and Kyoto Onwuzurike very well could be a roster bubble candidate, even though he was the backup guard. There's a lot of guards. He potentially may not make the roster. I think I hope he does, but there's a potential that he does not make that roster. That's just something that we have to kind of brace for here. Folks, let me know who you think is on the roster bubble. Blow up the comment section. Again, LionsNationUnite.com if you want cool Lions gear. You get shirts, you get hats, you get socks, underwear, cups, whatever. If you think it, they have it. And if you are a fan of Lions, go ahead and do that bad boy. Also, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on the latest Detroit Lions news and rumors. With that said, folks, adios.